The most amazing feat is that we're actually on time, on schedule, which is to be praised. I'd like to invite our next speaker, Ehud, who is Tel Aviv University's Vice Director General for Marketing and Strategy, who will...
Good afternoon. I'm very pleased to be here. Rosalie gave me a challenging task. First of all was to find parking here at this time of the day. And the second one is to give a presentation before lunch, which is a real challenge. And I'll do my best and try to connect with the theme of your conference and try to elaborate my take about the theme towards internationalization. I can try. Is it okay? Now?
Hold it in your hand.
Okay, is it better? Great, thank you. So, how many of you arrived today to the campus using Waze? Great. Can you hear me? Okay, so I suppose that many of you are using Waze, and as you know, Waze is a product or a service that was founded by two of the founders of Waze, are graduates of Tel Aviv University, and we are very proud in our faculty, in our students, in our alumni. And this picture is taken from the science exhibition at Ben Gurion Airport. When you go down from the passport control to the duty-free, you see there is a very impressive exhibition that demonstrates the science achievements of Israel. 9 of these pictures are the outputs, the products of Tel Aviv University faculty, and I believe that this is the real gateway between Israel and the world. First of all, the physical gateway, Ben Gurion Airport. Unfortunately, we have mainly one gateway for incoming and outgoing people who go from Israel and come to Israel. And also, science is a real gateway between Israel and the world, and we are doing quite well on this arena. So when I was asked to speak about internationalization, I look at various definitions what internationalization is, and if we had enough time, we would conduct a discussion, try to define what is internationalization. Since we have not enough time for this task, I took the definition, and I prefer the definition of Wikipedia that says that internationalization is the process of integrating an international, intercultural, or global dimension into the purpose, functions, or delivery of post-secondary education. Internationalization have many components. Some of them are global competition for talents, recruitment of international students, which is very relevant in our case, development of international branch campuses, less relevant in the Israeli case, student staff and scholars exchange program, internationalization of the curriculum, which is very important and relevant, and also education partnerships between institutions regionally and internationally. We need to take into account there a lot of criticism is also attached to the term internationalization. Some of this criticism had to do with the economic orientation of this endeavor, with the Anglo-American tradition, some call it the Anglo-American tyranny, and also the commodification and commercialization that are attached to the globalization phenomenon that we are facing and living in. Yesterday, I saw this news from Inside Higher Education. It was fresh from the press, and it says that state shortfalls and foreign students analysis finds that 10% reduction in the state appropriations is associated with 12 to 17% increase in international undergraduate enrollment at public research university. Fortunately, this is not the case in Israel, but in the United States. The analysis concludes that expanding foreign enrollment is an important channel through which public research university buffer changes in state appropriations, while additional revenue from in-state tuition increases appear to recoup the large fraction of the fall in appropriation. Research universities would have had to navigate reductions in resources per student or yet larger increases in in-state tuition in the absence of the large pool of foreign students. I'm not certain what is here the causation and the correlation between these two phenomena, but as you can see, in the United States, the international students, they play a major role in the higher education system. So when we try to find our way in the international arena, and this is, by the way, another picture taken from this exhibition, a picture that reflects the research of Yossi Yovel, Dr. Yossi Yovel, and by the way, Rosalie, you should have invited him instead of me. You would have enjoyed it much better. His research has to do with bats navigation. And in that case, first of all, we need to start with the purpose of a research university, which is similar in many cases. In most cases, you will find that the purpose of research university is threefold. It's research, teaching, and community service in this very specific order: research, teaching, and community services. Our values are related to this purpose. In terms of research, we are speaking about research ingenuity. In terms of teaching, we have world-class faculty. And in terms of community services, the social involvement. We have three more values. One is the interdisciplinary, which is very relevant in a comprehensive university such as Tel Aviv University. We have a non-stop campus in a non-stop city. Some coin it the city that never sleeps, and we call it Live Tel Aviv. And we consider ourselves as a global university. Our international outlook encompasses both research and teaching. In research, we have many joint centers, many MOUs, many international conferences are being held here at Tel Aviv University, and our faculty publish jointly with their peers from all over the world. In terms of teaching, we currently have some 1,500 international students, and they include postdocs and PhD students. We have 14 full graduate programs conducted in English, 2 undergraduate programs, one in electrical engineering, the second one in liberal arts. By the way, undergraduate programs are much more challenging than graduate programs. And we have study abroad students and exchange students. And there are also summer programs that attract several hundred students here to the campus. When we are trying to I would say, analyze the international crowded market, and here is another picture from this exhibition, a picture from research of Professor Yossi Leshem, whose research has to do with flying safely with birds. I turned to what I consider the Bible of higher education figures. And this Bible is being published every year by the OECD. It is called Education at a Glance. And in the publication of 2016, we can see what is the share of international students worldwide. We can see that the total share in most countries is higher than the share of students at the undergraduate level, the bachelor level. And what is interesting here, that who are the big players? The big players are New Zealand in terms of their share of international students. New Zealand, Australia, United Kingdom, Canada, Ireland, United States. What is the common denominator, common factor? English, obviously. But also, for example, in the Netherlands and in Denmark, and also in Hungary, they raised the level of participation of international students when they moved to teach in English. They don't, in Hungary, they don't attract medicine students with Hungarian. They teach in English. You can see Israel, by the way, here it's the red dot, and our share is relatively modest. Currently, we are between 3 to 4% of our student body are international students. If we have, we look closer by level of degree, we can see that at the master level, the share in each country, in most cases, is higher, and the share of doctoral students is even higher. And here again, the common language, which in most cases these advanced studies are being conducted in English, is relevant, and it enables them to attract more international students. So we need a common language. And I also searched in I asked Professor Google how many people in the world speak Hebrew. Unfortunately, his guess is that 9 million people speak Hebrew. Most of them live in Israel. I'm not certain that this is the exact number. I believe it is a bit less. And you can see that as long as we are not willing to teach in Chinese or in Hindi or in Arabic or in Portuguese, we need to, our common language, our relevant common language is English. So back to Israel and to Tel Aviv University, I believe that this slide that was borrowed from a presentation conducted by Professor Manu Trachtenberg in 2014, he was the former chairman of the PBC, demonstrate a real challenge in the Israeli higher education market. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the fact that in the last 2 years, the total number of students in the Israeli higher education is decreasing. The total, the absolute number, not only in the universities, but in the entire higher education system, universities and colleges alike. So this is related mainly to a significant demographic shift in the Israeli higher education, in Israel, sorry. And if we took this slide, look closely at this slide, we can see that Jewish age group between 20 to 30, which is the relevant age for studying in higher education, without the ultra-Orthodox Jews. And we start at 2013. We can notice that in the last 3 or 4 years, we have lost 34,000 people. And this is not the worst news, because still 15,000 more students are more to evaporate from the higher education system. And if we are trying just to understand what is the meaning of this number, it means, for example, that here in Tel Aviv University, this slide equals to 200 less new students a year at TAU University. For example, if last year we increased the number of our new students by 51%, which are 50 students, which is equal to 1%, it means that in real terms, we grew by 250 students. By the way, some of them are Arabs, and their share is now increasing mainly according to several reasons, and also with the support of the Council for Higher Education. And unfortunately, the ultra-Orthodox Jews, currently they don't come to learn here in the campuses. We need to go out to meet them, to outreach them, which is not an easy task. It's also a financial burden. It is separate, but at any rate, their participation rate of the ultra-Orthodox Jews is very low currently. So it means that if we are willing to balance the decrease in the number of students, the international outlook or the international options should be taken into account very seriously. Currently, the student body of Tel Aviv University, the entire number of students is around 29,000 students, a bit more. 28 of them are Israeli students, and you can see the split between the levels of degrees. Undergraduate studies constitutes for around half of the student body. We have a bit less than 1,200 international students. They are divided almost equally between undergraduate and graduate studies. By the way, the undergraduate studies include the study abroad, not the exchange, but the study abroad students. And there are also 176 students, international students, who learn in Hebrew programs. You can see that most of them are research students, postdocs and doctorate students, and also we have several students in the graduate studies. By the way, most of them are music students. And here again, music is the common language in this case. And this explains why we have this number of students. So our goal is to increase the number of international students. We are aiming at a figure in the ballpark of 2,400 students, which will constitute for a bit less than 10% of the entire student body. As you saw before, this is not, I would say, a super target. But let's see what is the way ahead in order to meet, and this is, by the way, the challenge that you have taken upon yourselves. And I believe that in order to increase the number of students in regular programs, we need to introduce more regular courses in English in the regular offering of Tel Aviv University, and also to open regular programs in English. The courses in English will be able to attract more study abroad students and exchange students if the course offering will be wider, much wider than the current offering. And when we are talking about regular programs, it means that we won't be forced to meet the break-even point required for opening a specific or designated program in English aimed at international students. Currently, this break-even point is between 20 to 30 students per program. It depends on the level of expenses. But assume, for example, that we could have absorbed any number of international students in the regular programs. It can make a real change. In order to get there, we need, for the introduction of regular courses in English, we need to impose a requirement that every student will have to take a mandatory course in English per year or per program. This is a question, but let's start with one course per program and then move to one course per year. And in the regular programs in English, currently there are three options. One is English-only program, and next year we will reopen program in migration that will be conducted in English, aimed at both international and Israeli students at the same time. There is also the English optional route. We call it English optional. It is mainly in the graduate studies. Next year we introduce it, we publish it in the life science graduate programs. It means that if one international student will sit in a class, the entire course will be conducted in English. And also, I would say that the main challenge is to introduce English section in large BA programs. For example, currently we have an electrical engineering international program. We are now considering to move it to a regular program. It means that we will be able to admit at the same time Israeli and international students. Needless to say, all the merits that will be associated with the ability to mix international students and Israeli students together. Currently, they learn separately. Some of them call it academic ghettos. And you need to take into account that, for example, an international students who came to Tel Aviv, by the way, we have a very impressive and successful buddy system. Students who work together, assist those international students, but in general, they learn separately. They don't learn with the Israeli students, and this is the real challenge. So I spoke about common language, and common language is a common challenge. We need to attract and to bring in both students and and lecturers at the same time. For the students, we need to offer more preparatory courses, especially in active English, not only in reading and listening, but in writing and mainly speaking. There is an issue of the language of exams. At least I believe that in the first phase, it would be easier, especially to lower the level of resistance of Israeli students who will need to sit for an examination and write it in English at the same time with those whose mastery in English is much, much better. And this is an academic issue. Also, a support center should be in place, something like the CLE, CLE, great, key. And for the lecturers, we need to make them more comfortable in teaching. With teaching in English, we need to offer them opportunities to upgrade the proficiency in English. And here again, we need support center, maybe the same support center, maybe a different one. And I believe that your ECOSTAR project, the Common English Framework, is it the? Common European Framework of Reference. Great. And also technology, for example, consider now the advancement in deep learning, for example, and they open great opportunities for also expanding the scope of using English and in the studies and studying in English. So to conclude, I believe that your project is a challenging one, and I believe that your main task should be achieving the holy grail of any project. It is relevant not for your project only, but for any project, and the main challenge is not to found ourselves when the Erasmus project is over, then the project is over too. And we are speaking about sustainability, about transferability, about scalability, and I believe that you are almost there. So thank you very, very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you much. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much to Ehud, especially for the optimistic recommendations which reaffirm who we are and the importance that we have on campus and in higher education in general. Thank you all for listening so far. We are breaking for lunch now. You may purchase lunch at the medical school cafeteria, which is right here next door, or in the web building that's just a little bit ahead, and they're the closest ones. The other cafeterias on campus. We'll reconvene in an hour, and then we'll start the more practical part. Let me just say one more thing. We did not have enough bags for everybody. That doesn't mean to say that we don't have enough copies of the contents of the bags. So outside, whoever did not get a bag will be given the contents of the bags with Karen, who's right here. Okay, so thank you very, very much. We'll reconvene in an hour.